Hello and welcome back to Code and Tuts. In the last video, I've introduced these HTML5 elements, which are called semantic elements. But before we dive into that, I would like to go over the class and ID attributes. These attributes gives these elements a name. In HTML, only the name. And it is used for CSS to give these elements a style. With that being said, I'll introduce you to CSS, which will show you the purpose of these attributes, which is up here in the style tag in the head section. The dot header means class header, class nav, class main, and so on. So here is what the typical website will look like. You have all these classes of header, nav. You have the section, which is a red section, and the article, the pink section, the aside, and the footer. Now here in the CSS, I gave it a background color, I gave it a height of 80 pixels. If I were to give it a height of 0 pixels, then it wouldn't exist. I'll show you. See, no header. And the width, 70%. 70% means it's taken up 70% of the web page. Main is the light blue part, 70%, 30% of the page, which is under aside with 30%. And they both have a height of 400 pixels, so you can see. And for the main and aside, I gave it both of floats. Now, what float means is that the block element only floats to the left of the page without the margin taking up the rest of the page. Same thing as aside, float right, which means it takes up only the right side of the page. So, for example, without this float left here and without this clear both, I save that. Notice the main block. Notice this block div pushes this aside down to the page. Just because the margin is taking up the rest of the page here. The orange part to the right is the margin, which pushes down this aside here. So this is why I put float left. The way it evens out. Now the reason why the footer is gone is because it's under both of these floating elements. So it's floating over the footer. And in order for that to show up, I put clear both, which means clear both sides of the elements so that nothing goes over it. Did I save? Oh, I didn't save. There we go. Okay, and I also have padding and margin. So padding is room around the contents, this content, which is a paragraph and the header, and margin would be space outside the border. It's easy for me to show you in the inspector. Let's see. Okay, here's the diagram. So here you have the contents. Let's say these are the text, the about me and the lorem ipsum text. And around that would be the padding, the spacing around those texts. And the part around the padding is the border, and the space around the border is the margin. Margin, border, padding, content. Okay, so if you ever need a reference for these things. You have the diagram in your inspector. You right-click anywhere on the web page, go to Inspect, make sure you're under Elements, and you scroll down here to your right side. Here I'm using the actual semantics of the most up-to-date HTML. So here you have the header, nav, everyone will know what that is. The main section of the website, that's why it's called main, as you can see, main. And here you have section and article. I'll make life easier this way. I'll put section ID myself. It's usually easier to label different sections of your HTML document. Section ID. Foreigners, for example. Did I misspell foreigners? So this is what section basically means. It divides different information on your website. An article would be like different paragraphs of that section you're talking about, of that subject you're talking about. If you would like to learn more about semantics, you can visit the link on the bottom of the screen if you'd like to learn more about it. And in the next video, I will be touching up more on CSS. Take care. Bye-bye.